Should I start?
Yes, it's like yes, sir.
I'll start now.
Anushree ma'am, please give a signal.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Please start.
Should I start speaking?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
A very good morning, dear friends. I am Dr. Jyoti Diwan, and it is my extreme privilege to welcome you all to this international webinar on COVID 19, the strategic route ahead for global action, organized by the Institute of Management, Commerce and Economics, Sri Ram Sarup Memorial University, from the 11th to the 13th of June 2020. COVID 19 will fundamentally transform the world as we know it, the world order, its balance of power, traditional conceptions of national security, and the future of globalization. The lethal combination of an interconnected world and a deadly virus without a cure is taking humanity into an uncharted area. As we emerge from the lockdown, we have to be ready to confront new political and social realities. This webinar on COVID-19, the strategic route ahead for global action, aspires to explore the various impact zones of the pandemic and chart a strategic route ahead, keeping in mind global and local developments of the past few months. We have for you 3 days of thought process and brainstorming, six powerful speakers, six ideologies, and six countries, all specially brought together for our audience over here. I'd now like to invite our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ajay Prakash, to welcome our esteemed speaker for the day. Dr. Ajay Prakash, sir, request you to welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti. Thank you, Dr. Jyoti, and good morning to all. Honorable Professor Ajay Kapoor. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
You're audible, sir. You're audible.
Okay, fine.
Hello? You're audible, sir.
We can hear you. We
Okay.
can hear you, Professor
So,
Ajay.
Honorable Professor Ajay Kapoor ji, today's resource
I think, sir, Dr. Ajay Prakash, sir, has lost his connection. He should be back soon.
That's okay.
Can the tech team please guide us?
Connection is lost, I guess. So
Yes, Anush. Unfortunately, connection with Dr. Ajay Prakash has been lost. So I'd request our Vice Chancellor to please welcome Dr. Ajay Kapoor and say a few words of wisdom and blessings. VC sir, please sir. Nira? Call for yes sir. Go. Go down. Yes, yes. Then go down. Unmute करें.
Again, to everyone, the human race to again unite and work for the future. Now, this pandemic has also, in a few 3 months, 4 months, it has shown a different type of a strategy which needs to be devised. At the same time, we have all been thinking there should be a global, everything should be global and it should be. But at the same time, you see how the communication has really stalled. The air by all air, train, the lockdown, there is no communication. And then it has given a chance. Should we go from local to regional cooperation? Like Australia, we are nearby. We are Indonesia is nearby. Malaysia is nearby. We have Nepal is there. Maldives is there. So these countries should be united. And then how to look into. It has also given a large number of people, which we have forgotten. There are a large number of people who are also facing, there is no job loss, including all the developed countries and underdeveloping countries. All are facing this problem. The question comes, what we can do. Now, naturally, everybody says that today how IT infrastructure, robust infrastructure is required for anything now we conduct online or anything. So, what is the way ahead? What should be? Only thing we have to look into, yes, we have to concentrate on manufacturing industry more, in the sense in manufacturing industry, it also gives large people employment. At the same time, at the IT sector also, there is a need to concentrate on artificial intelligence, robotics, and drone. We are good for surveillance. Then also when we are talking about manufacturing also requires automation, where you have seen the people have gone lockdown, they couldn't reach, they were all gone to their home and they are not available today. So either we make the manufacturing place at some place where the laborers or the workers can stay and they can be available whenever the situation improves. If they leave the place and the whole area, it is not possible. So I think also we have required many of the countries like us also, we have faced how health services is important to us. It takes in our country about 2 to 3 months to ramp up how many testing should be done, how we go about opening up. So at the 3 stages we have done lockdown mainly, and now this is 2.1 what we are calling, we are just opening up now. Now opening up has also got a lot of issues. Naturally, the cases are increasing, and the people are fearing, is it a community spread? So at the same time, I think we cannot have everything locked down, because after all, the life also has to people have to live, people have to work, and then only the whole world can again move. So apart from whatever the COVID-19 health guidelines are there, we are following, there is also need to look into our health infrastructure. It remains always robust. And apart from that, apart from doctor, there is a large number of paramedics are required. So has to be a disaster management plan, which so far only natural disaster it has taken into account, or as something where, but never taken into consideration if anything like a pandemic happens, what is going to happen? There is no plan existing as such today. It has taken into consideration only what you say. There is a natural, there is a flood, there is a earthquake, there is a anything, whatever it can, natural disaster you are taking, or a tsunami, whatever we have in plan. So there is a need to make a disaster management plan at a local level. It may, if you see in our country, like a very large area which are highly populated, and like Bombay, you Delhi, other things, they are the hottest spot. How to look into that?
So I think there's a little connectivity issue. So we'll just wait for a few seconds. Otherwise, sir, may I request you to begin after a few seconds if the connection is not re-established?
Yeah.
So, I'd like to request Dr. Ajay Kapoor, sir. I think VC sir is joining back.
Okay. I think that's what I have to say. I think it's a more of a, then the thing start from global, can we go local, and how to be self-sufficient, and in the time of crisis like this, it should be there. So I think most of the country, they feel they should be manufacturing everything what they require, and it is not but possible to have everything local. You may be shortage of oils and maybe many things, but at the same time, there is a chance where the regional tie-up is required, and where we can, if somebody is good in something in manufacturing, we all in that region, that is a regional cooperation. I think that is the way, apart from the local for whatever you can do, but at the same time, everything cannot be local. And then we have also now, second thing, it has also disrupted education to a very, very large, after all, like today we are talking about virtual universities and other things have to come. But that is virtual university though have, but there are many areas of teaching which cannot be virtual, like engineering, medical, and other science and technology. It has to be a, really a hybrid model of teaching also has to be there, and how to go about it. But how the small children or apart from the school, how they can start today in India? Most of the parents are not willing to send their children. So I think what I can say, the overall, when we talk about, this is also one of the concerns, and we cannot incapacitate the human resources. That is essentially, and it is essential that our young generation has to be given a good education. So there is a trying time. I think we will come over. I think this type of seminar will help everyone to understand how we can go ahead, especially in our sector, as also we can be self-sufficient. So that's all I have to say. I think this seminar will be many speakers, and they will go into a lot of things, and that's something positive will come out. Thank you very much for giving me the chance.
Thank you very
finished,
much, sir.
I think.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It's been very invaluable hearing your views. And now I request our speaker for the day, Professor Dr. Ajay Kapoor, sir, from Swinburne University, Melbourne, Australia, to kindly present his views.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll share my screen, see if you are able to see these slides now. Is the slide pack visible now? I've shared my screen. Are you able to see the slides?
Yeah.
So it's just coming on. It is just the
Okay,
side is just coming. Yes, sir. We can see.
very good. And you can hear me also clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can be clear. You're audible.
Okay, very good. Maybe I can request everybody else to mute their speaker so that the voice becomes clearer. Otherwise, it will pick up a lot of other noise.
Sir,
Okay, so what I like to do is first of all thank you and the entire team to organize this wonderful seminar. It is very needed now, and I'll also like to thank yourself, Jyoti, personally, and the Vice Chancellor for saying just the right kind of things, very important points there. What I like to cover today is the future of work and what kind of skills will be needed in the post COVID 19 world. So, very quick summary of what Swinburne University is like. We have got about 25,000 students across our three campuses in Melbourne, Australia, one campus in Malaysia, and several partners in Sri Lanka, Singapore, Vietnam, and Hong Kong. We have got about 1,500 PhD students, including 300 PhDs in 20 countries. And in India, we are working with IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad. About 12 years back, we had started an online presence, and that university has grown very well. That part of the university with 8,000 students studying fully online. So we had a lot of experience of what online requires, and it is not just delivering the same lecture online. Many different strategies are required. Today, I will not be covering those. I'll be focusing more on what kind of skills are required. But later on, some other time, if you are interested, I can talk about how Swinburne is dealing with COVID, how we are putting our education online, how we are making sure that the staff and students are all satisfied. Now, I thought that I'll look into the history to see what has happened in the past. So I have gone back about 2000 years to look into large pandemics. And many things have happened in the world, but this kind of pandemic, which has killed very large number of people, it has also happened a few times. So what you are noticing there is last 2000 years, we have had several cases. The largest one was Black Death or bubonic plague, which was about 1347 to 1351. So it ran for about 4 years. So if you notice, 200 million people, 20 crore people died. But remember, the population of the world at that time was only 370 million people. So the world had 37 crore people only. So roughly 1 in 2 people died. So that was the scale of that particular endemic. The next one, which came to the world and gave a lot of problem, was smallpox, and that killed about 56 million people. And at that time, the population of the world was 510 million people, about 51 crore people, and about 5.6 crore people died. After that, the next one was uh, Spanish flu 100 years back. And in that one, about 40 to 50 million people died. But the world population at that time was about 1.8 billion people. So, what I'm showing you here is that with time, 600 years back, 1 in 2 people died. 300 years back, 1 in 10 people died. 100 years back, 1 in 20 people died. Now, we have since had SARS, MERS, and a few more. And number of deaths have been small. I mean, in a sense, One person dead is also very large, and that is not very appropriate and not very good. But at least it's not very, very large numbers. Now, if I look into how many people die every year in a large country or every day in a very big country, that is what I'm showing you on the bottom right hand side of this slide. So you notice in China, in one day, if there is no pandemic, everything is normal, about 28,000 people die. In India itself, about 25,000 people die in a single day. So even though deaths are very bad and they devastate the country and the family, we should remember we come from India, which is the intellectual and spiritual capital of the world, that this episode will also pass. We just have to wait, it will pass. Now, on the right hand top, I'm giving you a very simple view of the world economy converted into gross domestic product per person, per capita income, converted into $1990. And what you notice is that despite these very, very large number of issues, deaths, pandemics, the economy has not suffered greatly. It has been consistently going up. So we have to remember that and not really panic. Next point that I wanted to cover was a very brief history of work and economy. What is economy? How does economy grow? What happens? And what skills are required? So if we go back about 15,000 years back, you notice that people were nomads. They were roaming around. There was so much space, so much land that nobody needed to say, this is my land. There's plenty for everybody. And then people will gather whatever they could. People who are eating meat and all that will kill an animal and survive. People will catch fish and survive, or just take some fruits from the trees and survive. That was the hunter gatherer age. And the skills required at that time were strength, physical strength, and agile. So if you get chased by an animal, you should be able to run faster that animal, otherwise you get eaten. If something suddenly changes, night is there, you have to be very, very skilled in finding out something is around. You can hear that, you can see or feel in that dark. And then agrarian economy came about 10 to 12,000 years back. The society began to organize itself. They started to produce agriculture. So agriculture needed a lot of organization. So unlike previous time, when you just go out, gather an animal or some fruits, here you have to plan for at least 3 months. You have to have a piece of land, you have to have some water, you have to then sow some seeds, let it grow, and then a few months later you get that. So that kind of organization and that kind of planning and having enough stock of food so that you and family can be fed for next 2-3 months was important. Those were the skills that were required. Then about couple of hundred years back, we had the industrial revolution. So all the work that was done by humans with their sheer power, or some animals we were made pets and used, like we still see in villages, animals being used, they got replaced by mechanical power. Machines were there. Now, if you have a machine, then you need a special skill to be able to become a mechanic or operate that machine. So that skill was the key skill to get a job, and everybody needed to operate together. Teamwork was also very much needed. Somebody is operating a big machine, 10 things are running out of that. Everybody has to work together. And then very recently, 20, 30 years, 40 years back, 50 years back, information became very important. Computers became very important. Now mobiles became very important. Now every mobile has got so much smartness that it has got more power in that handheld small device than in the past very big computers had. When I was studying in 1980s, the Institute of Technology, BHU, had a very large mainframe, and the power in that was only 65 megabyte. Nowadays, you have gigabytes of RAM and processing power within a simple mobile. But to operate that, you need very different skills. So We noticed that in the last 20 years, 30 years, India has taken lead in processing information. Places like Bangalore, Chennai, Noida have become huge. Large companies have come out of it, and people who have gone into that kind of a skill are very highly required, very highly rated, and demand a very high salary. Now there's a new change occurring now. Automation, the Vice Chancellor mentioned, is big. It is happening. We can make machines to talk to each other and do a lot of things that people were doing. So anything that is routine does not require much thinking, much human input, that is replaced. So what is happening now is that a device, which can be any device, like I'm using a laptop, somebody can be using an iPhone, somebody can be using some other device, and we are all able to work on this platform, are able to see the presentation and talk together. So that kind of anywhere, anyone, and any device is the new mantra and the new way of working. That brings me to another thing, which is called gig economy. So, what gig economy generally means is that people have their skills, but companies are not going to employ them permanently. If they need that person's help for a week, they say, "Hey, I'll give you salary for a week, come and work." Or they can say, "I need you only 2 days a week." And then another company says, "I need you for 1 day a week." Another says, "half a day a week." And this person can be working in these 3 or 4 places. And with the anywhere, any device kind of model, he or she does not even have to go to the work, can be operating from their work or from anywhere. That is what is called gig economy. And in gig economy, what happens is it provides a lot of autonomy. You control your life, you do what you want to do, you can be any age, you don't have to pick up job when you don't want it. You see Uber, you see many other things, and people are going for that. There's a downside also. If you're working for a company and you have got a job, then if you fall ill, they will pay you salary and you can take sick leave. When you retire, you get some pension. Whereas if you're in gig economy, you don't work and you don't get paid. When you retire, unless you have saved your money, nobody is there to look after you. So all that has to be looked into, evaluated, and managed. But that is what is currently happening. If you notice, I've shown you what happened over the last 15,000 years, but you find that these kind of scenes can exist, especially in India. They can exist geographically. So if you can go to a village, you see very agrarian, simple economy. You go to a mid-level town, you find it has improved quite a lot. And then you can go to a big city like Bombay, and it's as modern as anywhere else in the world. So what happens is that within a country or even within a city, all these three coexist. And that to me is a very unique low-cost ecosystem. So if you want to get something done in Melbourne, the cheapest possible labor available will charge you at least 1500 rupees per hour, at least. Whereas if you want something higher, there's no end. They will charge you sometimes 10,000 rupees an hour, whatever. Now, if you go to India, you find that because of this kind of low cost ecosystem, you are able to still get people who can be working for low salaries. So that works very well for the system. On the other hand, there's a downside, and the downside is there are many social issues. So I'm showing you a picture which is showing that some very, very high rise buildings, and you can expect the houses will be very expensive there, several crores. And then people who are living there are having all facilities of life. Just next door is a very large slum area, very, very low salaries. And this kind of social inequality is not very good. It's not very good for the country, and it is not very good for our own fellow beings. So that one has to look into. On the other hand, this kind of ecosystem does provide a lot of opportunities. Any kind of skill one has, from very high tech to very low tech, can be utilized and work can be obtained. And with such a system, an opportunity to make a difference to lives of people is huge. So in a place like Australia, where generally speaking everybody is doing well, you will struggle to find out what to do. Whereas in India, you can do anything and you can change somebody's life. So those kind of opportunities are there. Now, if I look into how to future proof somebody's work, then it's a very simple equation. Humans, societies, countries have needs. If somebody has skills which can be used to fulfill those needs, the person gets a job. So if you have to look for future needs, and if you can develop those skills, then you can secure your job. And if you are very nimble, if you are very agile, as needs change, you change your skills, you always remain in demand. On the right hand side, I'm showing you two very well known figures. On top right, it's called Maslow's hierarchical needs. The bottom of the pyramid is showing physiological needs. We know that in India, we generally call it roti, kapda, or makan. People have to survive, they need some food. Luckily, things that are most needed, like air, God has given us free. But after that, we need some food and we need a place where we can sleep and feel safe. After that, we also need to be valued and loved. And then one wants to feel sort of a bit of self-esteem that I'm doing something good. And then the top is self-actualization, and for that India is very famous. All spirituality of the world comes from India. That how do you self-actualize and realize yourself? So those needs are there, and those needs have to be fulfilled. These are not going to go away. If you notice, countries which are poorer, they are still at the bottom of the pyramid, still trying to do things to feed their people or give them houses. Those who have moved up this ladder 100 to 200 years back, they could do that to their population. They are now looking for spirituality and self-actualization. Now, bottom of this right hand side, I'm showing you United Nations Development Program Sustainable Goals. So if you look at the word, large number of people still need education, they still need food, they still need so many things. About 17 of those have been listed. So anybody, especially students, if they are looking for what to do, this is the slide to look into and think about very carefully. Now, as we saw that things, especially in the Western world, are changing, and as I showed you earlier, in big cities and big industries within India are also changing. So India is not that nobody in India is doing Industry 4.0 AI. They are doing it, but not everybody in India is at the same level. So disparity is large. That's a big difference. So these are the drivers for new economy. We know that robotics is big. Anything that humans are doing, robots are doing it. Everything that the machines were doing with human intervention is being automated. Control systems are there to remove humans. Industry 4.0 is linking these machines together so that machines can talk to each other and don't even need humans to look into things. AI is very big. So much data is being generated that machines can learn on that, and they can say how things will happen in future. So that kind of machine learning, predictive modeling, that is huge, that is very big. Then human machine interface. If all that humongous amount of data is there, how do you make sense of it? How do you present it to people who can understand it in a very simple way? How do you analyze that data? And then applying that to education, people call it education 4.0, health 4.0, everything, where you can bring data, equipment, AI, humans, everything together is what is happening now. Another area which India does very well in, and in the world is becoming very important, is now space. You noticed last week there was this privately launched aircraft which took two people from NASA to the space station. Now that kind of thing is going very big. Launching of satellites, India does that very well. There's so much data that is being used, so much phone that is being used, space and using space to map out wealth within the earth, and all that is also a very big area. What I did was last week, I looked into LinkedIn to find out what are the key skills required this year. So what they do is they look into how many jobs are advertised and what kind of things those jobs are asking for. And you find that hard skills like the technical expertise, blockchain, cloud computing, analytical reasoning, how do you think analytically, AI, UX design, all those things are there. And I remember Vice Chancellor also mentioned about several of these. So those are the key skills, but those are skills required in the West. I'm pretty sure they are required in India as well. But luckily for India, anything is required. Everything is required. Then soft skills, creativity, persuasion, being able to collaborate with each other, be adaptable, and have enough emotional skills. And now, if you notice, this was something, and I'll show you one more slide. This is from State of Workplace from Society of Human Resource Management. So this is an American society, and they are the ones, HR, human resource, who give jobs, and they surveyed their people, and they found that in US, these were the skills that were lacking in their employees. 37% lacked problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, creativity. 32%, 1 in 3, ability to deal with complexity and ambiguity. 31% communication, 31% trade skills, and so on. But the interesting thing is that if you look at this slide and the previous slide, a couple of things are very similar. And if you now look at the real world situation, COVID came, Corona came, 2, 3 months, everything is closed. What we need is to be able to be very creative. We need to solve this problem. Nobody knew. Nobody had a clue. Nobody had a question paper that if this happens, what will you do? So we have to work together. That is where teamwork comes together. It's a very complex problem. We have to deal with that complexity. It's a very ambiguous problem. We just do not know what will happen. So out of that ambiguity, how do you get something worthwhile out is what is required. So critical thinking, innovation, those are key skills, and those will remain key skills for a long time to come. I like to stop here so that we have at least 10 minutes for questions. So my key takeaways are, let us not panic. This too shall pass. Coming from India, the land of most of the spiritualism in the world, we should not panic. This too shall pass. We should use this time very well to evaluate ourselves, find out what our passions are, what skills do we have, and what are the market needs now and for future. And then we should find out what skills do we lack, and we develop those skills. And I checked on the web, so many courses are available and many are for free. So one can, by the time lockdown finishes, my expectation is things are going to become normal soon. New Zealand has fully opened, Australia is nearly open. I'm sure in a few months' time, India will be absolutely open and fine as well. We're expecting that the effect of financial situation will last maybe 1 to 2 years. After that, it's all going to be normal. In the long life of things, 2 years of problem happens. What do you do? So one has to look and use this time very well to gear oneself for coming future. For students, they can also think of starting a new business using new technologies. We notice that all these platforms for technology are available for free. Can we do something using them? So that is the main key takeaways for me. I'll stop here, but very happy to take any question.
Hello. Sir, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. And you lucidly told us about how industry has evolved and how economies have evolved and how people have developed skills all along in order to keep on earning a livelihood. So do you think that the future is going to be completely dominated by tech skills and tech jobs? Or do you think that the erstwhile skills that we had, physical skills and human skills, they will have some element to play in the economic progress?
I have a feeling that we will need both. the tech skills, the problem now is that the way technology is going, even the tech skills are being automated. So a long time back in 1980s, when I finished my degree, at that time, computer programming used to be very long, very cumbersome. And I remember when I was in Cambridge, I used to run the longest programs, very large computer user. And those programs were about 3,000 lines each, Fortran. Nowadays, that is totally gone. It's a much higher level programming, otherwise, the computer does the rest. So, a lot of stuff that is happening is getting automated. So, technical knowledge, of course, will be needed, but that kind of skill will get automated. But we need to have that kind of thinking, like analytical thinking. Analytical analysis is also needed. So we will need a bit of both. Successful people will be those who have got both. So it's not going to be either. That's not going to be somebody who has got only social skills will survive. They also need analytical skills. And somebody who has got no social skills will also not survive. A mix of both. And adaptability. That is very needed. Being able to see what is happening, change oneself, keep learning.
So then some students have posted a question that what do you think would be the new areas in which they can initiate their ventures? Many of them are keen on entrepreneurship. Then what are the key areas that they should explore for venture creations?
So venture creation, okay. I think somebody is saying that they want the screen to. I can. Do you want me to share the screen again, or? Oh no. Okay. So as I noticed in current situation, there were a couple of very important lessons. One, everybody was forced to stay home, and they used technology because they were forced to use technology. So everybody is using technology, and it is all for free. I'm using WhatsApp, I'm using many other things. Zoom, Microsoft Team costs me nothing. Now, if you look at where the large number of changes are going to come in India, and that is why I showed you that particular slide, where there is many in a big city, a lot of people living poorly, a lot of people living very richly. How do you bring those poor people to the level of a good subsistence? That is where a lot of opportunities are there. If I notice, the government of India is focused on creating a lot of jobs at the lower level. That is where a lot of opportunities are there. So if one can do some education online, then of course big cities have big opportunities, even villages have big opportunities. And the good thing with technology now is spread is all over the place. Geo platform is there, geo reliance. So with that, can somebody teach something in villages? You can immediately get very, very large number of people, a lot of government support, that kind of stuff. Agriculture is there. A lot of programs are already there who are connecting farmers with where the market is, how to transport their stuff, what do you do. So I would say key thing is for the student to look at their passion. If somebody is very passionate and very skilled in doing data analysis, they should go into that area. They should look into their courses, and they should see in some areas, some people get good marks without working very hard, like maths. Maths was very good for me. Like without much work, I'll get full marks. In some areas, I will not get good marks. So for me, a maths-based area is much better because I'm naturally talented in that. Then I have to find out that where can I use that for society's benefit. If society can benefit by my skill in maths, then they will pay me handsomely to use my skill in maths to upskill them and change their life. So those are a couple of things they can look into and decide what to do.
So, so there was one more question by our student Amit Seth. He's wanting to ask the question that, of course, along with the loss of jobs and all the huge amount of depression which is setting into the young people, you mentioned during your session that people must wait and use this time to develop their skills. So how to combat, because there is a lag between graduating and getting jobs right now. So how can they overcome the psychological aspects, as they wait for the economy to have an upturn?
Yes, I'll say a couple of things. One, I am finding very annoying in India is there is a lot of talk, a lot of discussion, but it's all very depressing discussion. And for goodness sake, we are the country which have been giving the word all spirituality. We tell people that don't worry about things will be fine, and when it comes, we are the first one to fall. So that is wrong. Young people will, of course, get very worried. But the message should be it will be okay. And it is not that I'm just saying it. I showed you the slide that if I look into the history, 600 years back, 1 in 2 died. 300 years back, 1 in 9 died. 100 years back, 1 in 10 died. But we all survived. So one has to be take worrying about it. Of course, there is a worry, but then worry only as much as it is helpful. So that kind of thinking, that kind of message from everywhere, from parents, from teachers, from government, from everybody else will be very useful. But if it is not that, of course, young people will get very worried. And especially as they're looking for a job and they think, oh my God, what has come to an end? What will happen now? They will get depressed. And that is not a good scene. So, my suggestion will be that they should take that decision based on previous history. They should find out what happened in the past. How long did it take to come out of it? My expectation is about a year. So they have to just survive for a year. And it is tough. It is not easy. But many people, sometimes there are students who in normal times they have an accident. After that accident, the foot or hand or something is broken and they have to miss a year out. It's not that the life stops. This is now something which has happened to everybody. So if everybody comes together and the soft skills of team working together, if we do that, it will be absolutely fine. The world has got enough food for everybody to survive. World has got enough fuel for everybody to run their systems. There's nothing like what happened 600 years back. And on that, I can say one more thing. If you look at globalization, there are problems in globalization. People are saying, oh my God, let us not buy this. On the other hand, bits of globalization are working very well. I'm able to talk to you. There's many more people throughout the world will be talking to yourselves. If you consider vaccine development, medicines for corona and COVID, everybody is working together. That is why the vaccine will come out very quickly. So there are worries, but there are a lot of positive things as well. The number of deaths, if you compare, they're not that big. 25,000 people die in India every day. Yes, it is worry so that we don't get it. But then we have to be optimistic.
So there's one last question where although there are that the students are going on posting questions, with your permission, we'll just take one last question as you're like got a busy schedule ahead of you. So our student Joyce and asked that since it's going to be a highly tech infused world, so how can non-tech students develop the tech skills? Uh,
Yes,
once they've
wonderful.
already reached a certain stage.
Wonderful question. They should look into. I showed those skills, tech skills, but they should not go on that. The easiest thing is nowadays if they go on Google or they go into Naukri.com, which is Indian portal, and they just type what kind of jobs are being asked for. And then in that job, what kind of skills are required? So they've gone into different areas. If let's say data analysis is big, can they pick up 1 or 2 units on data analysis and do them? So it is basically finding out what jobs are requiring through Naukri.com. In Australia, we use Seek.com. In US, Europe, there are many more portals. They can find out how many jobs are advertised requiring what skills. And then on the website, there's so many programs available. Many of them are for free. They can do that.
So that's very practical advice, very doable, and very lucid. Thank you so much, sir. And sir, I now request our dean to say a vote of thanks. Before you can proceed into your busy schedule ahead, I'll just take a moment to invite the Dean of Management to propose the vote of thanks for today.
Am I audible?
Dr. Mohit Verma, sir.
Hello.
Request you to
Hello,
please.
Dr. Verma. I can hear you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, our Director, Institute of Management, Commerce and Economics, and Vice Chancellor, Professor Ajay Prakash, sir. Today's first session, first speaker, distinguished speaker, Professor Ajay Kapoor, sir. All the registered participants and the viewers and listeners. Very good afternoon to all of you. Before I propose my vote of thanks, let me put my apology for the technical snag happened in the starting of the session. So we feel really sorry and apologize for the delay which has happened in the session. On behalf of Institute of Management, Commerce and Economics, SRMU India, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Professor Dr. Ajay Kapoor, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule and sharing your very insightful thoughts and very effective deliberation it was. Your PPT was excellent. It has explained each and everything. So it was a very informative session. We all are inspired by your great words. The questions which students have raised, many of the participants have raised, have been very relevant to the topic of the session. And the way you have answered, I'm sure participants must have got the clarification, whatever confusion they were having. Thank you once again, sir. And I look forward for more association of this type in near future, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much. Over
And
to
thank
Dr.
you.
Jyoti, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir,
Thank you, sir.
for your precious time and your valuable words. I'm sure they will go a long way in guiding our students and providing us some perspective in these really uncertain times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks.
So that brings us to the close of our very first session. But more news and more thoughts and more ideas are still to come as we have been joined by our second speaker for the day. So before we begin our next session, I'd like to welcome Professor Dr. Asiya Chaudhary. Ma'am is from the Department of Commerce, Aligarh Muslim University in India, and she will be speaking on the theme India Getting Global, a New Norm Amidst COVID-19. A little bit about our illustrious speaker. Professor Asiya Chaudhary joined the Department of Commerce AMU in the year 2003 and possesses a teaching and research experience of 17 years. Her research areas include commerce and trade, focusing various aspects of Indian textiles industry. She has successfully completed 3 projects funded by UGC and ICSSR and has 3 books to her credit and has got published several research papers in reputed national and international journals. These papers have been presented and she has been receiving a lot of applause for her good research work and her teaching work. Ma'am, we welcome you on behalf of Institute of Management, Commerce and Economics, Sri Ram Swaroop Memorial University, and request you to please put forward your views.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Jyoti, for giving me this opportunity. To begin with, first of all, I would like to congratulate your university as well as your department and your whole team for organizing this international webinar. And I think this is already, we are on the route to global actions as we are organizing such international webinars and inviting people from far and wide. So it's good enough. It's good enough. We are already on the following that route. And secondly, I would like to thank your department, your university for inviting me, for giving me this opportunity to talk at your platform and share my views with all of you. and specifically Dr. Mohit Verma, because he has been in touch with me. Thank you, sir, for giving me this platform and opportunity. Thank you.
Sir, please say a few words in welcome. Dr. Mohit Verma, sir, request you to say a few words in welcome to ma'am.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Sir, you're audible.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Asia, for accepting our invitation. I know you have been very busy in these days, but on my first request, you have accepted my invitation. So we are thankful to you. Thank you so much, and look forward for very good presentation from your side, ma'am. Thank you.
Big expectations, but thanks anyway. It's my pleasure always.
Yes.
So, may I start? I think I should start with the session.
Please.
Yeah, okay. So I'll be talking about India getting global, a new norm amidst COVID-19. So is it already a new norm, or will it be a new norm? I just wanted to put my views here. But before getting into a deeper analysis, I just try to explain my views into two parts. First, to initiate that, I will explain what is the actual meaning of global and globalization, because it is a combination of localization and globalization. And then we will move on to the next part, that is the what Indian economy and the economies throughout the world, what they are facing after the entry of COVID-19. So first, let me throw some light on what is GLOCAL. Actually, it holds a very interesting history behind it. It was first coined by Akio Morita. He is the founder of Sony Corporation from Japan, and how he started in order to make because first it was established in Japan only, but he wanted to make it global. So what he did was he took a very bold step, and he shifted with his family to America just to understand the American consumers, and to make Sony a truly global brand. It was a brave move indeed, because he was a man from a very insular society. So, why the reason was he wanted to modify his product according to the need of the consumers, which were beyond the limits of Japanese boundaries. So anything that is reflecting local but with global characteristic, we call that global. So glocalization is a combination of words globalization and localization. And it is a term which is used to describe a product or service that is developed and distributed globally, but is also adjusted or accommodated as per the user or the consumer in the local markets. So companies need to excel at leveraging local people, maybe internal and external here, customizing the processes, that is finding the sweetest spot between marketing and procurement, and adopting global technology, brand consistency across different languages using modern technology to make smart globalization strategies. So maybe I can conclude here, that is globalization mantra is that global template with local adaptation. And I would quote here some good examples about globalization. That is, some of the companies, all of you are very much aware because we are quite good consumers also. Starbucks, Lay's, PepsiCo, KFC, McDonald's, Hindustan Unilever Limited, Ford, Gillette, Subway, etc. And let us just look into have a deeper analysis that how they penetrated into Indian market. For example, McDonald's beef burger elsewhere in the world gives way to Makalu Tikki vegetarian burgers in India. And Ford, they build higher ground clearance trucks for Indian roads. KFC make spicier chicken for Indian palate, and at the same time, if we check out Starbucks, they provide us milkier, creamier coffees according to the erstwhile chai drinkers, Indian chai drinkers. So these are some of the companies who are performing very well at global friends. global fronts, but also they are very much deeply penetrating into local markets or throughout the world. It's not only in India, but throughout the world. So, but the concept, it is not only limited to the products. It derives from having excellent on-ground partnership also. Maybe in terms of media, logistics, marketing, supply chain, finance, human resource, and government. Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon Prime, Netflix for new generation, they are very good example, which are new generation born digital global brands. They have adopted globalization to a large extent. And this as Amazon Prime and Netflix have been a very good time pass and very good products for this COVID-19 phase for all of us, because they really captured our tastes and preferences. Because we can also see that Google, with 9 regional language options in India for its contents, it is a very great example of delivering what a diversity requires. So creation of content in regional language and local cultural context makes Netflix and Prime Video's brand of the present and future. So I can just wind up explaining globalization, that it is just like exactly what the doctors ordered for the success of any brand, as the world becomes one, yet it is fragmented. So this was one part of my session, that is what is GLOCAL and what is globalization. Now let us have a deeper look into what the current situation the world is facing, and what Indian economy is suffering because of this COVID entry. Here, COVID-19, I would say it brought a big disaster all around the globe. Indian economy, which was already facing a slowdown during 2019-20, it was, received a very hard blow from COVID-19. The Indian economy expanded just 3.1% year on year in the first quarter of 2020, beating market forecast of 2.1% rise, but still it was slowest GDP growth since quarterly data became available since 2004, because the country imposed a nationwide lockdown from March 24th, aiming to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Now, this lockdown brought all industries, big or small, to a sudden jolt. Major industries like diamond, steel, automakers, aviation, tourism, real estate sector, film industry, etc. They are the most hit sectors. MSMEs are not spared and are facing existential crisis. I think they are the most hard-hit sector, because they were surviving on a small capital and their day-to-day earnings, which they lost almost completely. They have actually entered an uncharted territory, and they are really gasping for survival these days. Some data I just try to pick from different sources. For example, data from Center for Monitoring Indian Economy show that India's unemployment rate climbed to 27.1% in May, which was considered the severest in the world. The lockdown has led to large-scale job losses and difficulties in migrant workers. I think all of us are witnessing this. All of us are suffering this. Media is giving us a good display also. And it's not only India, but at international level too, we see that trade activities, they have come to a halt, including big economies like USA, China, Japan, and European Union. Some data from WTO, they have projected that global mercantile trade to drop between 13% and 32% in 2020 due to this pandemic. The Asian Development Bank said that GDP in South Asia will be lower by $142 billion. That is approximately $218 billion. That is fall between 3.9 to 6% in the next fiscal year. So mainly reflecting strict coronavirus-induced restrictions because of that in countries such as Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, because they provide as a small producing countries, but still they have good role participation in global economy. Uh, Now, another data which was released by Commerce Ministry showed that Indian exports and imports witnessed a share dip. Merchandise exports plunged 60.3%. That is a big amount. And imports fell by 58.7%, resulting in a trade deficit of something $6.8 billion. The sharp 59.3 decline in non-oil export was driven by engineering goods, gems and jewelries, and textiles. These were some of the data which I tried to pick up from different sources of ministry and government websites. The result was actually how this all happened, because there was a wave of cancellation and postponement of foreign orders in key sectors such as gems and jewelry, engineering goods, petrochemicals, meat exports. They all contracted by record margins in the month of March, because that is the period when we started locking down ourselves also. And the Federation of Indian Export Organization, they said that COVID-19 has pulled down monthly exports to the highest ever double-digit decline in the recent times. Another events taking place because of these lockdowns, all the ports across China and European unions, they are closing down. They have been closed down since March, disrupted the complex global supply chain network too. So China accounts for close to 30% of global exports of electronics and electronic components. And this significant dependence, or in some cases over-dependence on China, is hurting the global economy, and the companies are now on a lookout for alternative production hubs. So see how globally we are aware that how China has become so strong that it is catering most of the supplies to the whole world. So now it is a worrisome situation for everybody, and India is not in isolation, is standing there. But still here I will put in my opinion that in every adversity lies the seed of equal, or maybe I think greater opportunity. If we try to view this positively, then I will say that there is lots of opportunity hidden in this adverse situation. And this I've just tried to present my opinion into two parts, because there are two different situations which need to be looked into. The first situation, or the first part maybe, is something like this, that many countries they had already before COVID-19, they had already started shifting from China, which already began before COVID-19 outbreak. And due to this rising input cost and the US-China trade war, the virus just added fuel to the fire, and with the disruption caused by it, it is likely to persist until 2021. So what's happening? The manufacturing companies are starting, they are already staring at an imminent crisis, and this has had a catalytic impact on companies. They are looking to relocate their production hubs. It includes very strong economies who are considering all the factors, how and where to relocate themselves. The movement of companies away from China to other less developed countries would obviously trigger a new wave of industrialization, or maybe decentralization, I would rather say, at global level. So consequently, the expansion of the manufacturing hub linked with global supply chains would increase not only the productivity, but also create a large scale employment opportunity. And here, India holds a very good opportunity. Countries like Australia, US, Mexico, and many others are in favor of reducing their dependence on China. And again, I'll repeat here, I think in this situation, India holds a very good opportunity for this decentralization or maybe industrialization to new regions, because India possesses very strong features. For example, we have cheaper labor, skilled as well as non-skilled in comparison to the developed countries. We are also a good source of raw materials, so we will have to first, but then identify that what other. But I think the other industries which are planning already to relocate themselves, they are just trying to identify what resources are better available in country like India. So many companies have already, they have already started initiating the process. So this was the one part, that is the companies which are shifting. So India holds good opportunity. And the other part, the next part of this the situation is that there is also some relevant data which tells us that apart from finished products, we are importing lots of finished products from different countries, as China as well. But apart from finished products, more than 70% of the material of the component for TV, smartphones to electronic goods, they originate from China. Now, this is a worrisome situation for us here. Home appliances, for example, it is an industry, is also witnessing a period of insufficient production capacity as Indian manufacturers heavily rely on China for components, even for the basic ones. So, there was one figure that was available, that is an analysis by consulting firm Frost and Sullivan, who puts they put that home appliances market, they stand for 85,300 crores INR in 2019-20. And just, can you imagine, they are just withheld because they are using lots of spare parts from China, and everything is just hanging in air because of this pandemic. So what I want to put my view here is that it is the need of the hour today is to reduce the dependence on imports and expand self-production. Economic Times reported last month that the country has begun work on a continuity plan that includes cutting down import dependence, especially the products in which we already possess competence, by focusing aggressively on substitution while improving safety, compliance and quality goods to gain global market share. So that means the idea has already been generated, and government as well as the industry has already started working in this direction. They have identified medical textiles, electronics, plastics and toys as more sectors, as some of the sectors where local manufacturing and exports can be promoted in the next 3 months. Maybe they'll call it phase 1, while in second phase, the products will include gems in jewelry, pharma and steel. Maybe that will follow by next 6 months. So however, whatever they plan, but it has to be, it cannot be ignored anymore by the Indian government or the Indian industries. See, there are many things, many products which maybe we can produce, but still we were giving a very, because maybe we were not cost effective, or maybe there were some other reasons. For example, toys, a very simple example of toys. Non-branded toys are majorly imported from China, because when you enter into the data analysis, they tell that the manufacturing cost is almost 1/4. The price at which Chinese producers are selling in India, the Indian manufacturing cost is almost 4 times than that. So we have to come down to that how is it the same thing being produced 4 times costlier in our country. So we have to look into those factors, and we have to work upon those factors, which I'll be putting in further, and I'll share you some, that what are those factors which government has to be doing, they have to do in partnership with the industry. And here, as I said, that some companies have already started, some industry, they have already started working in this direction. So I would like to share an example of textile industry, because maybe I'm doing lots of work in this domain. COVID-19, one thing all of you are already aware that COVID-19 brought a very heavy demand for PPE kit and masks. And before COVID-19, there was hardly very little or almost no production of PPE kit in India. Mask, yes, they were producing, but we were importing major requirement from other countries, especially China. Now let us see what happened in the Indian textile industry, what transformation took place. Indian textile industry is, with its rich heritage, stands amongst the leading sector in Indian economy for decades, but it has been gravely affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. Majorly micro, small and medium enterprises with restricted reserves, they are losing, almost they are closing down, and they are losing around 1 crores of job during the lockdown period. And these inconsolable, because they lost their orders from abroad also. So the inconsolable exporters as well as the producers for local markets around the country, they lost their summer orders worth crores of rupees, and they are witnessing a very deep, bleak present, a very sorrowful situation for them. But see, what happened here is many textile producers, they have switched over to play differently, and they have adapted to neonatal situations. There was surge in demand for medical products like PPE kits, face masks, gloves, and other textile accessories in the post-COVID era. So it compelled several textile producers to diversify from traditional production. Many factories rose to meet this emergency. And in the recent past, India depended heavily on other countries for the PPE kit, and did a very commendable job in the couple of months by manufacturing around, you won't believe, 2.06 lakh kits with an average domestic production of 1.5 lakhs per day. With this was recorded on 2nd May. And some worth mentioning examples here are Tirupur, which is popularly called the textile hub of India, and famous for its niche products and quality, has been left crippled by the virus, and around 100 to 150 companies sprang to companies, they sprang to serve the burgeoning demand for the face mask and PPE kit in almost half the rate from China. And the industry is confident to meet country's requirement if logistical support is provided by the government. So see, as I said, that we require a partnership between the two. Second example, Surat, which is another textile hub. It has many producers. They have also switched to producing 500 PPE kits and face masks per day in place of designers' clothes to meet the ever-increasing demand for the product. Another case is here in Noida, where about 20 manufacturing units are producing approximately 50,000 pieces per day. Largest exporters from Gurgaon, they have also recorded that they are manufacturing gloves also, in addition to they were designer exporters basically. Similarly, sports manufacturers in Meerut also have switched from field to pandemic zone. So see, creativity, diversity is not lacking in India. So if these were some of the producers and exporters who just positively switched over to the situation, because this situation, see, it was not a normal situation. The situation demanded a very bold decision, adapting completely new technical know-how. They had untrained workers. They required differentiated raw material. Obviously, the fashion designer clothes cannot be used for PPE kit, and the consumer market was also completely different for them. But still, the demand was so urgent, and it also called for lots of medical specification. But still, they rose to the situation immediately. It is really praiseworthy because so quickly and immediately switching over within months. I mean, one and a half months. It's great for the Indian companies. They took it as an opportunity instead of sitting and crying over that what's happening, we are bearing the losses, we are suffering the losses. So they have also, their diversification, it has also helped the country in a way that it has minimized our dependence on other countries, including China, who were selling us the same product for almost double the price. So see how here I will say that India will have to take some strong steps forward to diversify the production. Domestic manufacturing will help businesses to secure raw materials. It can also make a global impact if everything is processed here. So to get local Indian industries will have to understand its final consumers as well as industrial consumers, and at the same time it will have to put into use the latest technology and know-how. So see, it is important that companies should figure out new plans with good amount of resources, which can help which can help us bounce back. If industry makers relentlessly they focus on domestic production, expanding the supply chain, improving the quality of our product, it would further shoot up demand in India, because India's, we are already expanding economy, and the robust middle class provides a very lucrative market, while we also are abundant in skilled and semi-skilled labor. So that all these things add to the country's ability to support bulk manufacturing, assembling and processing. So I think we can look into maybe inwards also at our consumers and produce for them. Tailor-made situation is required, that what is the requirement, and produce. Why always thinking about all the time depending on other economies? So maybe COVID-19 has pushed us to think in this direction. But see, here let me make clear about one thing. I'm not talking against globalization. In fact, I will say that it will be wrong to say that we must do away with globalization. So many things going on these days. Stop consuming imported products. I think we are not in a capacity to do that. In fact, we cannot afford to do that. The reality is this, because see, already the global fabric is so strong, and India is heavily dependent on other developed countries, maybe in terms of venture capital, spare parts or finished products, anything. But see, because see, if I'll just share some data about the startups. Just recently, I just discovered some figures which tells that whatever venture capital utilized for a startup, given for startups to promote the fresh starts, which India has been promoting in the last previous few years. There have been successful businesses also, successful examples also, but major venture capital is coming from China. So now, when this big amount, major I am saying, if this big amount is coming from, then how can you put a stop to all these startups and just ask them to shut down? And from where will we bring this huge amount of capital investment? So we cannot do away with anything 100%, but yes, to certain extent, to minimize the dependency, we can always start our actions. So there is always a starting point to everything, and maybe presently we can witness that global equations are changing, and we have to adapt. We have to meet the challenges, and we have to develop ourselves. So we have already realized that the extent of over dependence can harm us. So let us make ourselves safe, play safe. But yes, obviously the fabrics of globalization cannot be done away with immediately. That is not possible. But we have to develop ourselves to be self-reliant and strengthen gradually. But here again, I'll put it that it cannot be done by industries or entrepreneurs all alone. Government will have to take some very strong and bold steps in this direction. Because I think here government has to step in as a facilitator. In order to better the business environment, we require lower administrative bottlenecks, larger incentives. The biggest need is for massive push for creating a robust infrastructure. And this calls for very heavy investments, very steady and sustainable investment in power supplies, telecommunication, efficient port and road operations, greater ease in custom clearance. And here, I think this is all limited, restricted to the role of government only, because if the government provides, invest sustainably in these segments, I think that then a boost can be given to the industrial sector immediately. So at this time, when the whole industrial community is in doldrum, government should announce some eye-catching schemes to invite companies to manufacture in India's eastern coast and traditional manufacturing clusters. For example, they should give some sector-specific, business-friendly regulation, simpler labor codes, maybe some good tax breaks, and other incentives which should be aimed at bringing its manufacturing competitiveness at par with most of the competitive destinations in Asia. Because as I said that in my first part, that when the different countries are planning to shift their industries to different, move it away from China and shift to different countries in Asia. So unless we don't provide these infrastructures, it won't be very lucrative for them to enter our markets. So this is how the role of government also becomes very strong. Here I will bring one more example, because textile is, no doubt, we are always saying that we are standing next to China in textile industry, but there is another segment or another sector, that is agricultural and food sector. This is the sector which India is already holding a very strong position. And if you just check out your export and import data, we find that majorly we are exporting the primary products related to agricultural and food in sector. The export part majorly holds technology and technical products and all those things. So let us not ignore the agricultural and food products. Here, India exports primarily agricultural and food products, and many countries are at this time, they are looking forward for processed food, marine products, meat, fruits and vegetables, tea, rice, and other cereals also. I think I'll just put it into small, single. I'll use some single terminology here, and that is your. I would say that agricultural product, they hold a very good opportunity for it, because the reason which is very particular at this period is that they are very apprehensive. The international market is very apprehensive to import edible product from China. This provides a very good opportunity for our farmers and food exporters to capture more markets. Because, after coronavirus and all those stories about bad consumption and all those things, people have become very apprehensive with the Chinese suppliers. So they are India has a very good, strong opportunity here. But, this calls for an urgently for an amendment in the Essential Companies Act for better price realization for farmers in respect of edible oils, oil seeds, pulses, onion, potatoes, and cereals. India has all the potential to be the world leader in marine exports, and the current downfall is very temporary. But we will have to strengthen ourselves for the near future and maybe the longer future also. And it is not only at international level. India itself is a big country, and a very huge consumer base is available here. So India has a very great opportunity to promote sustainable agriculture within the country. So in times of crisis, social stability is of paramount importance, and that is secured with production and distribution of food grains. So India in general, and particularly some of the states like Telangana maybe, did very well in terms of producing the much required food grains. And for the next 1 year, until the economy starts recovering, at least there will be there will be food for everyone. So spending on agricultural sector, I think particularly for the steady supply of food grains, it is extremely important. So India needs to refocus on agriculture sector after COVID-19, but in different directions, such as maybe organic agriculture. I'm sure all of you are aware that organic products are very much in demand. So organic agriculture, in order to meet the growing demand in urban areas specifically for quality food. Here I would urban area, I'll include the developed nations also. People there also, they are very much conscious about the agricultural food, organic food. So we can cater to that huge market which is already there, existing there. So there is big market, enough market, but the government needs to renovate some of the policies to promote, certify, and streamline the markets with reliable organic food products. You have to, because food is a sensitive issue for everyone, there has to be a close check also. We require a close check on the final products. And people are ready to pay huge premium for organic produce. So secondly, government should be providing subsidies to organic inputs in order to promote them. So focusing on value addition and rural agri-processing industries is required, so that jobs can be created in rural areas and pressure on cities can be reduced. Here I'll connect one more point. As we have seen that the horror of these laborers, migrant laborers that we witnessed, and they are also in a great panic situation still, and I don't think they will be immediately, they will be ready, willing to come back to the urban areas. So maybe it will be a good solution if we expand and provide opportunities for them in the rural areas itself, in the agricultural sector itself. So that can be a solution to the migration of laborers from one place, not 100% again, but to some extent, yes, we can go for that. So I think I'll just suggest that sustainable agriculture should be the focus, and approaches and technologies required now are more that should be more mature, and they are already available. So India needs to put into use those technologies, and but in addition to that, we need serious policies and pragmatic approaches to take maximum advantages of the post-COVID era. So I think with these examples of these two industries, I think there are many opportunities in other industries also in a similar way. To conclude, I will conclude my session. I would not say that we can do away with globalization, we can do away with importing the products. No, but to a large extent, yes, we can strengthen ourselves, we can develop ourselves in order to fight the situation and not remain dependent on other economies to large extent that we start suffering. We have to take measures in that direction. So with these example, I would conclude with the words of Albert Einstein, who said that in the midst of every crisis lies a great opportunity. So it is now on our government and industry that we grab the situation for economic revival and sustenance in the post-COVID era. So thank you. That's all I have to say on this. Thank you. You're not audible. I think your mic is off.
Yes, I forgot to switch on my mic. My apologies.
Okay.
And thank you very much, ma'am, for very in-depth analysis of the entire COVID crisis. And you have also suggested some very practical and feasible solutions of getting out stressing particularly on sustainable agriculture and textiles. And you have spoken in depth about entrepreneurship also and how businesses can be helped. So, thank you for all the inputs that you have provided. They will be very useful. Some students are posting questions. Pratyush wants to know, how should India focus on strengthening its public systems with the help of global powers?
Okay. See, here I would like to say that first the improvement or maybe the strengthening should start from ourselves, from within, because see, any system, it has lots of good policies, very strong policies, but maybe most of the time we find that the implementation part is not that strong. So to strengthen ourselves first, let us check back on the policies which are already existing, and let us say that to implement those policy in a very and execute those policy in a very honest way, in a very practical way. The first thing that is required, because before using the global power, if you're using the word power, I think India is strong. It's strong in itself. We do not require anybody powerfully to be coming into this. But yes, one thing I always suggest, that at international level there are many countries, many models who are performing much better with the same policies, with the same procedures. So why don't you look into that? We go for in-depth analysis, in-depth case studies, and we try to bring in and implement the same model. But again, see, every country has different background, different environment. As I said, I just introduced the term GLOCAL. While you are successful only when you try to understand your local consumers. So we will have to bring, if you want, we can bring in good models from abroad, from developed or maybe successful economies. But then we will have to study our own requirements, our own backgrounds and environment, and then we will have to re-modify those policies. But I don't think we need to bring others, because we ourselves are among the strong economies. We are not very down in that. So that means our basic structure, basic policy framework is strong enough. We need to implement them in a better way, execute them in a better way, in a more maybe comprehensive adaptation is required for a stronger public system. And for this, I think individually also we have to come up and put our foot forward to contribute into how to, and especially these young generations, they must be coming forward with the views and make contribution in these things.
And there's another question. The next question is, we'll have to figure a little bit of figuring out is needed in the question. The question says, "Ma'am, but this manufacturing will be for a specific period. What will their future plans be? Will they again diversify as per requirement?" I think the student is referring to your manufacturing comments. Yes.
Obviously, see, this COVID-19 is a very temporary phenomena. As soon as we get vaccine and we get all those medications, I think we will be done away with this situation. So maybe as they are predicting, maybe in next 6 months, or maybe if it takes longest, so maybe 1 year or 1.5 years. अगर बहुत ही pessimistic हम calculation लेके चले तो, but I think for any economy, 1 year, 1.5 years, or 6 months, it is a short-term phenomena. In the long-term phenomena, still diversifying will always help. Diversification can be continued. Now, see, the examples I gave you in Tirupur and all those places, the textile industries, manufacturers, they have switched over maybe temporarily because they try to rise to the emergency that was there. But see, if they find their profits well, and if they have in this, because we were importing, now we are manufacturing, so there that makes a very big difference. पहले पूरा ही almost import हो रहा था, अब हम manufacture करने लगे, so and that's to half the rate. So that means the country, what is the need to import then? At double the price. Now, once they will be getting establishing themselves with good profits in this area, so it will be a long-term phenomena for them. So diversification can be, yes, of course, it will be a long-term phenomena. They will have to they will be. I don't think that they'll do away. And maybe diversification. Maybe these can be an additional inputs establishment for their units. कि ठीक है, हम इसमें already expert थे. Now we can also go into this. अभी short-term phenomena था या emergency meet करने के लिए without best technologies, whatever they had, they tried to manage in that. But now when they see the profits and when they see the scope, automatically they will be investing more money, more technology in order to improve their production, obviously.
So, ma'am, one of our very wonderful professors has posted a question that closing trades from China will make us strong or weak. As a consumer, should we follow only local, or should we think of our concern as a consumer?
See, being a very good question, in fact, very interesting, in fact, because these days we are having lots of slogans that stop consuming imported products. I had already put this thing in my address that can we afford that? See, whatever we are importing from, I'm not saying that it is continued. There has to be a change that is required to be brought in. We are consuming, but 70% of whatever products which we are manufacturing locally, their spare parts are being imported from different countries, and majorly from China. The successful startups that are taking place in India, major capital has been invested by China. Can we afford? Think it like that. We don't have choice. I think beggars are not choosers here, because you don't have choice whether we consume when we are not producing, when we are producing with their spare parts. So first, before deciding that stop consuming imported goods, first let us establish ourselves and let us start producing and strengthen our base, and then we can be strong enough to say that no, now we don't want yours because now we are producing ours. But before we are producing, we are not producing, we are not capable, we are weak in capital also, we are heavily depending on, see, you just check out the FDI data, 100% FDI in almost all the sectors. So first we have to, I don't think that we can go in immediately for local consumption. The products, maybe you try to switch over and see. One very practical situation is that water always slopes wherever the slope of that is downwards. Water flows downwards. It never goes upwards. Cost always, when we are paying from our pockets, I don't think, in spite of getting things in the market at cheaper rate, we are going to pay more price because they are produced in India. Nobody is going to do that. Because Indian are conscious consumers also, and pocket plays a very important role. We were improving on our income and we were improving on our expenditure power, but recently, because of so much of unemployment, job losses, and then such a hard blow from this COVID-19, I think we will be more conscious consumers now. जितना कम में मिल जाए हमें प्रोडक्ट, हम वही खरीदना चाहेंगे, taking into consideration quality also. So immediate, I don't think immediate decision you can take कि नहीं, अभी से नहीं, हम कर ही नहीं सकते, हम सिचुएशन ही में नहीं है उसको डिसीजन लेने के.
We must build our own capability, strengthen our own capability, and then only about letting go.
आप दूसरों को तब मना करिए जब अपने को मजबूत कर लीजिए. आप खुद भी कमजोर और आप दूसरों को भी मना कर देंगे तो how are we going to survive then? Yes, that is what.
And the next question is from Saurabh Agarwal. And आपने अपने session में भी बोला और अभी here in newspapers, and we all feel also that now that China is being repelled by most of the countries, India stands a chance. So Saurabh wants to know that is it so easy for India to take advantage of this opportunity? It seems by the talks of many intellects who want us to take advantage, is it so easy that India can gain this advantage?
See, switching over to situation is never very easy for anybody. It's never that easy, but I won't say it is difficult to at this time. We need a very good and very strong collaboration between government and the private investor. But if the companies from developed countries, they want to switch their base from China to India, obviously they will be expecting
But ma'am,
the
it is being
same.
noticed that they are going to Vietnam and Thailand and all. So, jitna anticipate
They have
kiya
already.
India
Yeah.
mein nahi.
Actually, they require a basic infrastructure which they were already in. See, it was pre-COVID period. Even they have already started to switch out from there because of their rising labor cost. But they will choose India only when they will get comparatively, similar cost to China. If they again get costlier labor, or maybe other infrastructures are not good enough, that will be another issue then. So that means what we require is first that government build or provide a basic infrastructure which is only under the power of, and because see, private players, if they are strong enough, they are very handful to contribute into the infrastructural development. First we need to again facilitate them, provide all the infrastructure required by them. I think the most important factors that they are tempted towards India will be your labor is quite cheap, the raw materials are quite cheap, technology they will have to bring in their own. But still the win-win situation for India will be that through this decentralization from China, or maybe deindustrialization from China, the win-win situation will be that we will have an industrial base, technology will be automatically flowing in, employment will be generated. So this will help to improve the consumption power of Indian population. So it's not very easy that immediately, and therefore, see, the companies are switching over to Vietnam and other, as you said just now, but they're a bit reluctant about coming to India. But still, they have started. Apple have already decided. So they are, the things are in the pipeline. So we have to work out on some basic infrastructural situations that has to be provided, and government has a very strong role to play in this.
And we've been joined by our dean management. I think he would also like to ask you a question. So,
Okay.
Dr. Mohan Sharma, please.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti. I have two questions. What is the role of SFP self-help groups? Because in your deliberation, you were referring to talking about PPE
Mohit,
kit and mask.
Mohit,
So how can
your
they be?
voice is not very clear, Mohit.
Hello, my voice is now it's clear. Is it?
It's
Please
freezing a
check.
bit.
Hello,
Yes.
is it clear now?
Yes,
Yes.
now it's
Yes.
Hello,
yes.
am I audible?
Yes.
Dr. Asif, my question is, in your deliberation, you were referring to the regarding the PPE kit and masks, the way the India has taken up and have been successful within a fortnight, and they are meeting the demand locally and
Yes.
otherwise also. So, what is the role of self-help groups? How can they contribute in this regard?
See here, I will say that because the decision was bold and it was very challenging, it needs quite good capital also. The units, those who have switched over, the details when I checked, they were already strong exporters and they have good capital background also with them. Liquidity, they have quite a strong liquidity with them. So they could manage because there are medical specification and everybody cannot do it. Anybody cannot do. So if the self-help group
True.
gets support in this direction, I think it's a very good idea because now the myth that it cannot be produced in India has been done away with. It has
Yeah,
been done
true.
away with. Recently, I read a news piece in the Hindu where they shared that Oxford University or Harvard somewhere, it has been researched that now combination of cotton and silk or some synthetic material can be used to prepare the masks also with 3-4 layers.
Okay.
They give some specification. So see, they can be manufactured at home also. So that means not only self-help, but the boutiques and they've already started diversifying. They are providing you matching for ladies. The boutiques, they are providing the matching this face mask. So
Ji.
there is good opportunity for everybody. It is only the matter is that how we take up and grab to the situation. That is very important these days now.
So, ma'am, you're just been
Okay, thank
wielding
you
the
so much.
question.
Second is I was just can I ask one more, ma'am?
Sure, please.
I was just going through into the chat box and I have come across very impressive comment from one of Dr. Afaq. He has mentioned if government will introduce screwdriver technology, which was there in the Rajiv Gandhi as a prime minister time, whereby the import of the components may be possible and we assemble here in India. So we will be partially self-reliant, thus lowering the import duties, and on the other hand, probably we may make the huge profits too. So in that case, I mean, what do you say about it?
Please,
Am I
may I
audible?
just,
Is it clear?
just repeat? I'm so sorry because there was a bit disturbance in between.
Okay, okay. I'm repeating the whole. I'm just going through the chat box. There is one Dr. Afaq has mentioned a very interesting thing. He said if government will introduce screwdriver technology in the economy, which was there in the Rajiv Gandhi regime, mean screwdriver technology that we can import the components and we assemble it
Exactly.
here and make our product final product. So in that case, probably the import duty would be less, and definitely we will be self-reliant and we can make huge profits out of it. We can fix up the price, and for the local as well as the export also. So what do you say about it, ma'am?
See, that is a good idea, and that was successful also to a large extent. But see, when in the situation of lockdown, when you cannot import and you cannot export, all your ports are being locked down. If we think, but at the same time, I'll say it is a very short-term phenomena. We'll be coming out soon out of it. But still, I think that here again, we are depending upon others. Even if it is, you are assembling things, you are buying the spare parts or from others. Again, the dependency is not going away. We are not doing away with the dependency. So for that, I think manufacturing, either we can, yes, invite others, but again we are talking about dependency. If you are inviting other countries to come and invest and produce here, or maybe we'll have to learn to produce ourselves. But this is all, this require pro policies for a better environment. Assembling parts, it's good enough, but again, to become more self-reliant, we will have to produce them here only.
So, ma'am, in that
I
case,
think, again, I will say we cannot do away with globalization completely.
true, true. Ma'am, it means what do you say about once we are referred to getting local and then recall our honorable Prime Minister's version local and more vocal. So, what is the future of Patanjali as a brand?
See, if you just analyze the market, analyze the consumers, we find that okay, we prefer local brand in terms of edible items. Okay, biscuit खरीदना है, नमकीन खरीदना है, we
FMCG,
prefer.
yeah, FMCG,
ठीक है, but अगर परफ्यूम खरीदना है, शैम्पू खरीदना है, we prefer international brands or maybe brands that are best. जहाँ पे हेल्थ इश्यूज आते हैं या कुछ आते हैं, तो पतंजलि विल हैव टू, maybe they will have to, इनका अपना कंज्यूमर मार्केट है, they have their own, they have captured a good slot of market, but maybe जो global products या बाहर के products अभी भी consumer preference में, they will have to adapt and modify their product accordingly, because consumer behavior immediately नहीं change कर सकते आप. कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर ऑटोमेटिकली चेंज होता है जब उस प्रोडक्ट का परफेक्ट सब्स्टिट्यूट मार्केट में रखा जाता है. तो मे बी पतंजलि इन टर्म्स ऑफ शैम्पू, अगर या हम कहेंगे कि फेस क्रीम्स हम देखेंगे, तो पीपल स्टिल दे फीमेल्स स्पेशली दे आर वेरी ब्यूटी कॉन्शियस जो है, तो क्रीम उठा के लगा लेंगी जो भी लोकल मार्केट में देगा. तो So they will have to, we have to, this is what globalization is calling for. That first you understand the consumer और उनकी requirement के हिसाब से आप product को develop करें. So maybe Patanjali will have to उनको अपने products को पहले तो categorize करना पड़ेगा जो यहाँ पे अच्छा consumption है, edible items and all those things. But जो दूसरे items हैं उस पे they will have to work out more on the products, I think.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Sir,
Jyoti ma'am.
it has been very enlightening listening to you. And the thing I admire the most is your positivity. While most of us are thinking gloomy, कि अभी we will get into recession, economy will go down. You have been very positive and you have said that it is just a matter of 6-8 months. And what is 6-8 months in the long frame of time of an economy, you know? So, ma'am, very positive thoughts. I'd now like to request our team to say the vote of thanks before we can close the session. Sir, please propose the vote of thanks, Dr. Mohit Verma, sir.
Yeah. As we are moving at the end of the second session of the first day of this international webinar, it is my privilege to give a vote of thanks on behalf of Institute of Management, Commerce and Economics, SRMU India. I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Professor Dr. Asiya Chaudhary. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out your time and sharing your expertise and experiences and the kind of and very insightful thoughts you have shared. Deliberation was very effective, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was very informative. It was wonderful session, and the questions which the students have posted and the way it has been answered have been excellent. I'm thankful to you from the bottom of my heart, and we look forward for more association in days to come. I also extend my sincere thanks to my core committee team members, including the convener Dr. Jyoti Diwan, organization committee members Dr. Manoj, Dr. Rinki, Dr. Anushri, PR committee Dr. Amit, Dr. Veena, student coordinators Prashant, Nitish, Ayush, for their enormous cooperation and support for this international webinar to happen. I thank you all for being with us in both the sessions. It is being a great pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.